Excuse pig.
Very sorry. It happens every time that I do an episode.
Every time he has a barrel strain.
Would you say, excuse the pig?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Excuse the pig, he's a friend of ours.
I'm going to start... Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of This Is My Bourbon Podcast. I'm Perry, and I'm your host, and I have two brand new guests on the show, all the way from Brisbane, Australia, and they're here in Lexington, Kentucky, and it's just blowing my mind. Guys, I'm going to let you all introduce yourselves, because I want people to hear you talk as much as possible.
Get the people who talk funny to talk. That's the way, Perry. Yeah. My name's Chris. As Perry said, we're from Brisbane, Australia, and we're over here drinking bourbon.
Yes, we are. And I'm very excited to drink bourbon. Anyway.
Nice. My name's Leanne. I'm Chris's partner. Brisbane, Australia. We come over every year and drink a lot of the brown water.
Just in time for the Kentucky Bourbon Heritage Month.
Yes.
Or just Bourbon Heritage Month. What am I-
Yeah.
Anyway.
Bourbon Festival. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so happy you guys are on the show. Chris has listened to the show before. Leanne, have you listened?
A couple
before?
episodes,
Okay,
yeah.
good deal. So you know kind of how this whole thing goes.
And gets out of control at times.
And it does
yes.
indeed get out of control at times. But, you know, we'll kind of see. I mean, look, I know how Aussies are when they start drinking, but... Just kidding.
Well, you experienced it last night.
I did, yes. That was...
Yes.
So, a little bit of background. Last night, Chad had a party at his house, and here we are back again at Chad's house. But we watched the UK Wildcats
Go Cats.
win against the Florida Gators in football for the first time in 31 years. And that was bananas. It's crazy. We're all still beaming from it. And there are still people putting out fires. But there were riots last night.
There
in
were. There were
Lexington.
cars being turned
A
over.
car
Everything.
flipped
Yeah.
over.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Stupid.
Couches being set on fire.
Insurance doesn't cover it. But anyway, let's pour something because I'm thirsty. I want to start with this Buffalo Trace Liquor Barn pick if you guys are okay
Yep.
with that.
Sounds like a good start.
Okay, perfect. So we are going to be drinking throughout the show out of Tribeca glasses, and then our actual review is going to be of this Elijah Craig barrel proof from this year. And that's going to be in Glencairns just for everybody to know. So anyway, yeah, that's fine. As we typically like to do as we start off the show, ask what you guys been drinking recently. So, Chris and Leanne, what have you been drinking recently?
Everything.
Well, are you after what we've been drinking here in the US, or are you after what we normally drink back home?
Whatever floats your boat.
Well, over here we've been drinking
Lots
pretty
of new
much
stuff, actually.
Yeah, lot of picks. We've had quite a few different Henry McKenna 10s.
Yeah, we
which
had
have been-
3 different ones last night.
Yeah, and then we had another couple yesterday as well at Justin's House of Bourbon, and we had another one on Thursday night when we flew in. Sat through a
Quite
had,
possibly.
and
I don't remember a lot of Thursday night.
yeah, there was a lot of that. Then there was we've had a few Elijah Craig picks.
Yeah.
And,
Boone County.
but yeah, Boone County
How'd
picked
you-
for
yeah.
Like that.
Boone County's like
Bourbon and
good.
Rye, Chris Evans.
Yeah,
That was sensational.
good. So you guys have been really
Yeah,
getting into it.
a
since
number
we've
of
been
Russell's Reserve picks.
I love Russell's picks, man.
yeah.
I don't think I've had a bad one yet. Same with Four Roses picks.
Yeah.
Actually. But yeah, I just want to say first and foremost, I'm so happy that you guys are on the show and welcome to, the States and everything. But it's fun to have people on that don't, I have not really ever met before last night, you two, and it's going to be interesting sitting down and actually, having some of these conversations about the differences in bourbon culture around the world, which is actually what we're going to be talking about today. But before we do that, let's talk about this Buffalo Trace pick. What do you guys think about it? Interesting.
Well, the big thing is our BT back home is 80 proof.
I heard
Really?
it's
Yeah,
90 over here.
and it's a 700ml bottle, not a 750. And it's about $52 Australian.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Our taxes are ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a bottle of Jim Beam White Label costs about $40 Australian, and it's 37%, 37.5. So it's not even real bourbon.
Really?
Yeah, I give Fred Noah a hard time every time I see him. He gets up and says how he has the number one selling bourbon around the world.
Right.
We've got US, we've got Europe, we've got Japan, and then Australia. And I always chime up with, Fred, it's not bourbon.
Not in Australia.
And he goes,
Yeah.
that's my friend from Australia reminding me that, well, we bottle Jim Beam in Australia.
Really?
So it gets shipped over. Same with Wild Turkey. We're the only market in the world.
I did
It
not know
gets
that.
shipped over in big, sort of like tankers. Mm-hmm. And it actually gets cut and bottled in Australia.
Wow. That's incredible. I
So
had absolutely no idea.
that's why they can
Yeah.
get away with doing 37.5% because it's not bottled
It's
in the
not bottled
US.
in the US. Yeah. Yeah. So you come here, though, and you get your fix of real bourbon, quote unquote.
Yeah, pretty
But,
much. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Jim Beam White Labels for cooking at home.
Yeah.
I mean,
even here.
Yeah, well, I have a 4.5 litre tilt stand of Jim Beam White Label, which is what I use.
Cool.
So
That's awesome.
And that sort of gets everybody when we do the Jim Beam tour and you go past the QA cage.
Right.
And everyone sees the big bottle and they go, how do you get those? Oh, we get them regularly at home. So you can just go into a
crazy.
bottle shop and buy one. But
That's crazy. But even then, is it still that 37?
no, it's a 40 because it's actually
Okay.
bottled
Okay.
down
Gotcha.
down at the plant.
It's weird that that's an export only.
Yeah.
We can't get it.
Well, what is it? There's a law that you can't get more than 4 litres or something, or you can't
person
buy
per
a
day or
per
something.
day or for
You
a
know what?
gallon or
I
something.
have no
or-
idea. I've never heard of that before.
In a single bottle or
Okay.
something. It's something like that we've heard, which is why it's
Sure.
not available over here.
So yeah, so we'd be done for the
Yeah, yeah. Whereas
day, maybe the week at that point.
whereas Australia, supposedly we're the second highest drinking per capita in the world. So
I'll buy that.
for alcohol.
I'll buy that. Yeah.
I think that's actually led by Northern Territory. Their stubbies of beer, like your cans, they're
Yeah.
a 2 litre stubby.
Okay.
So that's for thirsty people.
That's for game day.
That's
what you'd say is
that's
for
just
game day
that's
back
just
here.
a general everyday drinker.
all the time, every time, whenever. Yeah, I get
So
that. I get that.
getting to be able to have things at the proper proofing which you have over here is always really fun to come.
Yeah.
Because it's amazing how much difference. Like even our Maker's Mark is 80%. 80 proof, so
80 proof,
40%.
right. Yeah. That's so bizarre to me.
Yeah.
And there's a real difference you can tell, actually, between American makers and Australian makers.
Yeah. I'm sure there is. I'm sure it tastes a lot more watered down too, in Australia. Yeah.
But at least
But-
it gets bottled
Yeah.
down here
Right.
at the plant.
Right.
So
So you've been coming to Kentucky for how many years now?
this is our 8th trip in 9 years. So we've been
Okay.
coming since 2010.
Okay. So what was it that kind of what keeps bringing you back? I mean, clearly there's something. Is it the bourbon? Is it the culture? Is it, not being able to get
A
What
lot
you
of
want
things.
over- yeah.
I mean, first and foremost, it's the people over here. They're the epitome of Southern hospitality.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We've made so many really, really good friends here in Kentucky that, and we make more every time that we come over. We meet people like yourself, and
Hey,
and
I'm here.
we met Chad and Sarah through the Lexington Bourbon Society. I mean, 4 years ago we became members of the Lexington Bourbon
That's
Society.
so cool. I love that.
So, And it's the bourbon.
Sure.
But friends first.
Yeah.
Bourbon very close second.
Yeah.
For some of them, actually does get above some friends.
So how has your relationship with bourbon evolved since you started coming to the States?
Well, back home we don't get a lot.
No, we get Maker's Mark. Well, back then we had Maker's Mark, Jim Beam, Wild Turkey, and Jack Daniels, which isn't really bourbon, but it's on the same shelf. So
Yeah, and then we had the Jim Beam White, Jim Beam Black.
we get the 80 and the 101 turkey.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And
Oh, and
again,
the rare
that's
breed, and rare breed.
Oh, wow.
and
Okay.
that's actually cut in Australia as well. So that's actually shipped over as well.
Okay.
In tanker.
Gotcha.
So it's not just Jim Beam; it's also Wild Turkey. And there's a difference. Leanne has a bit of a problem when she drinks Australian turkey.
Yeah, the turkey scratches in my head the next day.
So, but she doesn't have that problem with the turkey over here,
Yeah. Good.
and doesn't with Kentucky Spirit, which we get occasionally back home.
Interesting.
But
Okay.
that's about $120 a bottle.
Right. Jeez. Which we get here for what, like
40,
40? I was
50.
going to say 40 or 50.
Yeah,
no more.
around $40 on
Sure.
sale. On sale, and
Yeah. Yeah.
about 50 normally.
Now, you guys also infamously have bunkers
We
over,
do.
over Kentucky
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
of things that you have bought while you've been here.
From previous years.
Right. Yeah.
One bunker, I think, has got stuff from about 3 or 4 years ago still in it because we just keep getting stuff which is more important to get home.
Sure. Sure. This may be a weird question, but what's like your long-term plan with that? I mean, is that eventually going to get shipped back over to you, or is
Yeah.
that just your Kentucky reserve?
No, well, it's stuff which we hope to eventually get home. The idea is to drink it.
Sure.
But if it gets to the point where it's got to be drunk over here, well, hey, we'll be drinking it over here.
Well, sure. And I know plenty of people that will help you too.
That's exactly. So do we.
Two of them are upstairs right now.
Especially since it's a lot of stuff which hasn't been around for a couple of years. 'Cause
Sure.
some of it's picks and
Old style bottles.
yeah. And we've got one of the older style Weller Antiques, 1 litre, which was
Wow.
a bourbon review pick.
Nice. That's awesome. Those guys are great.
And that's just still sitting in one of our bunkers. It's going home this year because I've run out of OWA back home. So it's got to go home with me this year.
Yeah.
Especially since it's the old shape bottle.
That, I mean, I love that old shape. I think that the new ones are really pretty too, but those old ones kind of
Yeah,
hold a
I'm
special place.
sort of cut in between the new and the old style with a lot of the bottles that are going around. With like 1792, how they changed bottle. And it's not it's more a cosmetic sort of change.
Sure.
But it's sort of like I still prefer the old classic style.
Chris, you still have a drink. You're not ready for this yet.
It's a drop.
He also has to drive later this afternoon, so we actually
And-
have a friend coming in from Australia, so
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
gotta go pick her up.
Does she normally come over here too around the
No,
same
this
time? or
is
her
the first trip
time?
over. She's coming over for something else, but she said, I've got to come meet you guys in Kentucky. You talk about it so much.
Well, that's high praise. I mean, you go back home and you're still talking about
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, your trip over here and everything. But what's the bourbon culture like in Australia? Is there any bourbon culture?
There
or-
is. It's a relatively small culture, but it is getting bigger. I mean, a lot of people drink bourbon, but to them, bourbon's Jim Beam, White Label, or
Sure.
most people.
Maker's 80 proof.
Yeah, or they most people have the misconception of Jack Daniels being bourbon.
Sure.
When you go to a bar and it's really fun when you see it on menus. You go, no, it should be a Tennessee sipping whiskey.
I like that you get that defensive about it too, even though you're not. Because usually you hear Kentuckians get that upset and defensive.
Well, we've been taught proper.
I'll give that to you.
Yeah, we talk funny, but we get taught proper.
Nah. So I listen to it's funny, I listen to a lot of Australian podcasts, actually, and most of them are based out of Melbourne.
Yep.
And there's a whole podcast network that I listen to a lot. I mean, almost every day.
God, that McKenna's good.
Yeah, so we just poured another bottle from another bottle of Henry McKenna, your fifth one in
The last couple
in 4 days. Yeah, this isn't the same one I brought last night, even though I do have it over there somewhere. I never took it out of my backpack last night. But anyway, so this is another 08 distillate, and I just got this bottle, I think, last weekend.
Did Dad get into that? Because that's down a fair way.
No. No, I shared that with my father-in-law, actually, last weekend as well, and that was a fun time. Jeez. Speaking of my father-in-law, Brett, for anybody who, listens to the show regularly, we did an episode with him and our friend Josh a couple months ago, and then we had recorded a bonus episode that never got released because by that time we were all a little bit too drunk. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. We were too drunk at that point, and it was mostly the two of them. And I was going to put out that episode, but then I went back and listened, and it's not worthy of it. No, it's just not. It's too incoherent to put it out for the greater listening audience.
So it needs to go out for the late night crowd.
Yeah, exactly. But it's actually available on Patreon, and if you are a patron of the show, you can actually go and hear that, and that's patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast. And even just for $1 a month, you can hear that. But anyway, I just wanted to get that out of the way as we were talking about
family
dads and everything. Because you really liked that episode with Dad and my brother.
Your dad and your brother's episode, that was funny.
And I'm sure we'll have them back on again soon. This Henry McKenna, I think, has that, dare I say, nuttiness that one Chad Perkins might, who may or may not be upstairs right now.
It's not a dry nuttiness, though. Like
no, it's not a dry nut.
He'll talk about on his show later.
I think it's kind of almondy with a little bit of peanut butter to it as well.
Yeah.
Not so much on the nose, but more for me on the...
Yeah, it's on the tongue.
On the palate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
But it's still got that nice smooth, and it's got that nice Kentucky hug at the end.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But it's a nice slow hug, though.
It's a good lingering finish. Yeah, absolutely. So when you guys come over here, what's on your to-do list for visitors? What do you always have to do when you come to Kentucky?
Bourbon Trail and Bourbon Trail.
And then
we
Bourbon
base
Festival.
our entire trip around being in Kentucky for Bourbon Festival. So
Awesome.
yeah, everything else is moved out around it.
Sure. Like doing a podcast on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, exactly.
Doing tailgating for a UK game if there's a game on. Yeah,
Sure. Will y'all be around for tailgate at all?
No, we won't be next week because we'll be down for
that's right.
Bourbon Festival next
Yeah.
weekend. The gala's on.
Yeah.
So you even say gala right for you guys. We call it a gala.
I say gala.
We say gala back home, but we keep getting correct over. It's gala.
Wrong.
But,
Not for all of us. Some of us maybe.
but yeah, no. So yeah, we won't be around for. Unfortunately, we
missing out on
often
a good
think
time.
who actually organises these draws with the NCAA and Bourbon Festival.
I mean, it's so weird. It's like everything falls on the weekend of the Bourbon Fest.
Yeah, well, they had a home game last year too, for Bourbon Festival. And
I think they've had a home game every Saturday of the Bourbon Fest for the Gala Festival.
I was just moving your mic around a little bit and I hit you.
Ding.
Take out a Tribeca.
Yeah.
Don't break the glass.
I'll replace him for Chad. He already offered me his basement to record in, so. Chris, what about you? What do you like coming back to in Kentucky every year?
Well, as Leanne said, it's all about we base everything around the Bourbon Festival. and that's for our entire trip.
Sure.
It's not just what we're doing in Kentucky. It's
Yeah.
Kentucky is the center of our little joys over here.
Right.
We're generally here for anywhere from 4 to 5 weeks.
How long are you here this year?
5 weeks.
5 weeks.
Man.
Well, in Kentucky, we're here for just around the 2.
Okay.
Mark,
Yeah, because you're
Yeah.
going to Bourbon and Beyond too, and
Yeah,
couple
but
of
we're
weeks.
ducking off to Indianapolis and Cincinnati for a couple of days in
Right.
between
Right.
Bourbon Festival and that. Then we come back down for Bourbon and Beyond. Staying in Louisville for a couple of days.
you said it right.
You
have been trained well.
I've been trained well.
Yeah.
So it kind of in line with things that you get the most excited for. What are the bourbons that you kind of try to hunt for a little bit more while you're over here? And you came over at the right time. I mean, it is Bourbon Heritage Month when all
It's
the
when a
releases
lot of the
start.
a lot of stuff starts getting
coming
released
out.
this month.
Yeah.
But and because we're involved with so many groups over here, we get access to
To lots of
picks
things.
during the year,
Yeah.
and it's coming over and tasting those picks, which people from our groups have been involved with, and picking up bottles which we've got here.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fun of bringing bottles over. Damn TSA only allow us to bring 5 litres over because we get more orders than we can actually bring over. But
You even asked me if there was anything I wanted you to bring over, and I was like, I don't even know what to tell you because I don't know what the market's like over there. I mean, I guess I could have said, Blanton's Gold, but then that slipped my mind completely, and here I am.
Do you want a
now.
bottle for next year? I'll put it on the list.
Yeah, sure, why not? Why not? There was something else I was having you put on the list last night, and I can't remember.
Yeah, my phone's upstairs.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Last night was a lot of fun.
probably some 1795, which I brought over for Chad.
Oh,
which
that
had
Jim
a taste
Beam.
of, yeah.
Yeah, that was good stuff. There are a few things, too, that you guys get that we don't get. Like the 1795 and Blanton's Gold and straight from the barrel. And
Yeah,
everything.
and the 80 proof green special reserve. That's
Oh,
at
right.
Australian only.
Right, the Blantons.
Yeah.
Does that, to you guys, kind of make up for what you can't get
Hell no.
from us? Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I'm sure it doesn't.
It makes
but-
it good because we've got stuff to bring over and do swaps with. And, we don't come over and bring stuff over to flip, which is probably why we get on with so many people.
Good
is
on
that
ya. Yeah.
We do bottle swaps
Right.
with people things. Or if there's certain things which people want and I get early in the year, we say to people, you can do a swap or you can pay for it, but I only charge them what it is back home.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like Chad and Sarah's La Maison de Whiskey 120 proof, which Chad got last year.
And now Sarah got one this year.
And Sarah got one last
Yeah.
night, which is already had a bit of a cuddle with it. So,
She was real happy that
Oh,
came
yeah.
in. And maybe I'll have to ask for one next year too.
Yeah.
It's
And
like
then-
it's like Bourbon Santa. It's like
and then I brought
Get it on
brought
this
over a
day.
whole heap of samples as
Yeah,
well for
you
Chad
did.
and
did.
and that. So, like 14-year wild turkey tradition.
and you guys are going to get into a little bit of that.
Yeah,
here
a
in-
little later.
So this episode is coming out the same week that you guys are going to be on their live stream over on YouTube at It's Bourbon Night, and so you're gonna. This is like the pre-show for the show. So
This is the warm up.
this is the whiskey warm-up.
That's it.
Okay, we got one more thing to pour before we get to our review. And I brought over this Taylor Small Batch. And the reason I brought it over is because there's something unique about it. There's something different about it.
Well, besides that, it's very hard to get back home in Australia.
Yeah, do you all even ever see this in...
It's
Very
very
rarely.
limited, and it's about $375 a bottle.
It's a good pop.
And that's a good
little.
pop.
That's a little much for...
And that's retail.
And that's retail,
That's
yeah.
not flip. That's retail.
That's obnoxious, is what that is.
Yeah.
It is.
I'm gonna let you guys pour because you know what you need to have for later. She just wants a little.
I've been drinking for 3 days now.
Pre-gaming for 3 straight days.
Yeah,
There's
she's
still a few more days to go.
days. You've got weeks here.
Well, Leanne has said that she is not doing the 30 days of bourbon this year, but
No, it nearly wrecked me last year.
I am. Keep up with it on Instagram and social media everywhere.
yeah,
at
I've been
My Bourbon Pod.
seeing you've been
Yeah.
putting up.
It's been fun though. I've never done this kind of challenge before on social media.
Well, we
And-
couldn't do it back home
because
there's not enough bourbon.
Yeah, exactly. But
You'd be repeating. Although we've got 175 at home, so we've got a good chance of going through and finding something different.
was it weird for you guys coming from Australian winter to Kentucky summer?
Our
A
winter,
little bit.
yeah,
But our
our-
winter in Queensland lasts for about 2 weeks.
Oh, that's not too
It's
bad
really
at all, then.
tropical
Yeah.
where we live. So.
well, actually,
that's
we've
good.
got pretty much the exact same weather that we just left
Oh,
here
really?
in Kentucky right
The
now.
awful drizzly
Drizzly
rain.
rain, few storms, yeah, mild temperature.
Well,
So
it's like you never left home.
no, well that's it.
Except there's more bourbon here.
Yeah.
And
And squirrels.
Yes, and squirrels.
do you not have squirrels?
We do not have squirrels.
Really?
No, you can always tell an Australian anywhere in the US if they see a squirrel, you'll hear this high pitched squirrel.
It's like a duck.
Yeah. So, and you can go, there's an Australian nearby. So,
A little siren goes off.
no, we had that in DC. We're outside the Capitol building, and all of a sudden you hear this high pitched squirrel. You guys are from Australia as well? Yeah, how'd you know?
Whereabouts?
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, well, where are you from?
But it's amazing how many Australians now that you actually run into now in Kentucky during Bourbon Festival and just
Yeah.
during the year now. It's starting to become a lot more of a, because the culture's starting to build up and people are becoming more aware of things. And it's been probably the explosion like Pappy becoming so
Sure.
big and like it's even a bigger unicorn over home.
Of course. Of course.
Except for our retail is like $2,500, not flip value.
I've seen people in Kentucky try to sell me Pappy for $2,500
Yeah.
cash. Cash.
Yeah.
It's like I don't carry $2,500 in cash.
Who does?
What are you doing? Yeah, exactly. What are you doing to me?
Do you take card?
Yeah, exactly. No, but then it was $3,000
Yeah.
on card, which is anyway. I'm
And it's out of the back of a trunk in a car park and 3 a.m.
some guy named Larry. And,
Yeah, wearing a trench
anyway.
coat.
You want to see what I have under the trench coat? No, I really don't. Please, for the love of God.
You're my man. Do you want to buy some Pappy?
One half of the coat is Pappy, and the other half's just watches. It's like I don't want any of your pocket watches. Oh, hey, I didn't mean that.
Hey, we've got some E.H. Taylor Tornado here too.
I always wanted to try Tornado. I've not tried it yet.
I haven't either.
Yeah.
We've had the 4 grain before, but yeah, we haven't been lucky enough to get hold of any of the Tornado before.
Well, speaking of Taylor, though, what do you guys think about this? Because this is
Small batches always.
yeah, but this one in particular to me just tastes really unique.
Like honeycomb.
Yeah, it's got a lot
Yeah.
more. It's got that honeyed and butterscotch sort of
Right.
nose to it.
And it is a lot oakier to me than most small batch is. Like it typically, and it's not that it's a thin palate as far as small batch is concerned, but I always seem to pick up more fruity notes on small batch, and this isn't so much that. This is more like it spent more time in the barrel for some reason.
Yeah, it does have a very oaky back end.
Yeah,
on
it was like the blend was off or whatever with their with their small batch, but or maybe it's just the one barrel. It's the smallest batch you can have.
it. Yeah.
Anyway, I just wanted you guys to try it. 'cause
Well,
it's really good.
yeah, it could
really
just
nice,
be
yeah, absolutely.
a couple. There was a couple of older barrels in it too.
It could have been. Yeah,
Just giving that little bit of back end oak to it, and
sure. What bottles do you guys typically try to find when you're over here, if anything?
we don't really come over with a list. That's the strange thing.
Just kind of let it.
Yeah,
let it happen.
I mean, a lot of times if we're doing bottle swaps, especially with like the Lexington Bourbon Society guys, we've pretty much already exhausted what we can
Sure.
take back because of doing bottle swaps. A lot of times
Sure.
we're already, at our
At
allocation.
capacity.
Hence why we've got so many bunkers, and even Chad's saying, "Oh, look, if you need another bunker." Although I think that's dangerous.
That's with a caveat of a sip tax, though.
That's right.
Like, he-
I
did say that,
I think it's more of an uncorking tax. Although that would work to a degree, because if it's an open bottle, we don't have to pay taxes back home.
really? So you can ship open bottles back over?
Well, we can take open bottles back over, and if they're open, it's because you can't resell them.
Okay. That's crazy to me.
So
Because I feel like, the U.S. would never hear of shipping open bottles.
yeah, well, it's
even-
not really shipped, but we can carry them back home.
Oh, okay.
In a suitcase.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you could ship them and not tell anybody, but
Yeah, well, the whole thing is with shipping, the customs
It's exhausting.
straight away they go
Right.
off the invoice and everything to work everything out, and
it's not like
they'll sit there and go, this isn't on an invoice. Why not?
it's not like UPS where you can just. But it's our package service.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I realized that I said that, and I was like, oh, they probably don't know what UPS is.
No, a friend of ours works for UPS so. Over in Louisville.
Fair enough. Well, I'm so happy to have you guys on the show.
That's been fun.
I love hearing about what bourbon culture is like, all around the world, and I think it's really interesting that it's starting to catch on.
Well,
in Australia,
we've
too.
all like when bourbon was just not known here through the 70s, 80s, 90s. Australia was the biggest market
Really?
for bourbon. We've always been drinking it.
Sure.
We've always had Jim Beam. We've always had turkey. I did the release of Maker's Mark back in 91, I think it was, 92, back in Australia. And the original bottles we were getting in back then were 86 proof? Yeah, 86, 43%.
43.
Yeah.
So it's
They've
screwed you over.
still lower there, but
Yeah.
it was better than what we're getting now. And the funny thing was that it was originally imported by Suntory, who now own Jim Beam Maker's Mark. So I've got a rare bottle which has actually got imported by Suntory on the side
That's
of it.
crazy.
Which
How cool.
Greg Davis and Rob Samuels have both said that they're really interested because they do not have that label down at the
Really?
distillery.
So you're holding out on them.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're definitely
that's
holding
it.
out on them. Yeah.
I've told them if they've got anything really good to swap,
But they've got to come to Australia to do it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you absolutely have to do that. Host them and everything.
Which Greg's really interested in doing. Rob's been down a few times, but he only ever goes down to Sydney or Melbourne. Doesn't get up for some reason. I mean, we've had Eddie Russell out and Jimmy out, and they tend to go to Sydney and Melbourne, which are our two bigger cities.
Right.
But Sydney doesn't have so much of a bourbon sort of market down there. Melbourne's really big, and Brisbane's big. But we've got what's rated the best bourbon bar in Australia, in Brisbane.
Really?
So,
I gotta come over to Australia. That sounds awesome.
and they do have
take my
pappies.
wife.
They do have pappies on the shelf all the time. So,
Well, sure, but it's what, like $300 a pour?
oh, it's not quite that much, but probably around about
It is
$100 a
expensive,
pour,
yeah.
120
It's
Australian.
like
So,
$55 for a pour of 15 at some places.
Okay.
you don't want to know that it's like $22 for a pour of Elmer T. Lee or something like that, or
jeez.
1792.
Elmer's not even that good.
Well, yeah. Well,
Sorry.
Elmer's not
Sorry.
even available in Australia anymore. It used
When did that happen?
Ooh, 2 or 3
about
years
3
ago?
years ago.
Yeah.
Because when the shortage came in over here, when Elmer got really popular, and just after Elmer died,
Yeah.
and production was sort of wound back a little bit. It got decided that it wasn't getting exported to Australia anymore.
I'm sorry.
Well, I managed to
If you
get
can
hold of the few of the last bottles,
Oh,
so
wow.
I've got some at
Yeah.
home. Then I brought some back from here. And,
Of course.
I've got a bottle of the birthday, the white label
Oh, okay.
as well, which
Gotcha.
I swapped one time,
That's cool.
and I never got hold of a death bottle, but
The death bottle. That sounds so dark.
Yeah, well, it is black labeled, so.
What's your bunker like at home, though?
It's a little light on at the moment, the bunker, because we're...
You're fixing it right now, though, I'm sure.
Oh, no, well, we brought, 8 bottles of 1894 Wild Turkey Master's Keep over. Did you try that with the sample which Chad had the
I've
other
not tried
month
it
on?
yet, no.
Because we've given Chad a couple of samples and...
Well, he told me not to touch any of those.
And,
I don't think he opened it last night.
No, he didn't, because he's saving it for today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But,
He told me not to touch any of
But
that.
then there's...
He looked very sternly at me and said, "This is not for you."
There's something special which he might be able to do after today anyway. So
Okay, fair
we'll people will just have to watch It's Bourbon Night for that one. So
Okay, so we are going to move into our review for the episode. First off, I just want to say thank you all so much for being on, because this has been a lot of fun, and I've really, really enjoyed myself and having you guys chat with me.
well, it's better than chatting on YouTube live streams.
YouTube live stream, yeah.
In the comment section.
There is no video for the review this week, unfortunately, for Patreon. I didn't quite have the time to set up the video for it, but that's okay. Again, we'll do something special this week for you guys, so be on the lookout for that. But we are reviewing Elijah Craig Barrel Proof A118. Have you guys had any of the barrel proof from this year yet?
Don't think we have, actually, no.
Okay. I'm gonna go as light as I can on this because it is 130 proof.
Damn.
Yeah. Is that enough?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay, all right. That's like a 0.75 ounce pour.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So for anybody who doesn't know, Elijah Craig comes out every year with I think 3 different barrel proof expressions. It used to be more than that, but then they kind of had to back off once it became more popular. This is the first release from this year. It's the A118. These are still age stated at 12 years old, which I love. I hate that it was taken away. But
Yeah, you notice the difference between the old 12-year and the new unaged statement.
Yeah. Elijah Craig, of course, is a Heaven Hill product. And they won accolades last year from Whiskey Advocate and from the New Orleans Bourbon Festival on the best whiskey of the year, I believe it was. I can't remember the
Whiskey Advocate was Whiskey of the Year, and New Orleans was the
Best in
Show.
Like
Yeah.
Yeah. So for anybody who doesn't know, we have a review system of nose, palate, finish, and price. Each category is out of 5, and then we total it up for a score out of 20. And then we let you know whether or not you should buy this. And I'll keep track of everybody's scores as we, go through this and all that. But
I've heard that about you, Perry.
I try. Look, man, I try if nobody's got paper or whatever. What do you guys think about the nose on this? It's a little hot.
Yeah.
But there's a really nice, brown sugar note to it as well, I would say.
Yeah, I was sort of leaning a little sort of candied toffee.
Oh, I see that.
Yeah.
Definitely see that. It's... Once you get past the heat of it, it is awfully sweet.
It's got a pretty strong ethanol.
Mm-hmm. And we can add a little bit of water to it as well.
Yeah,
after a couple of drops, or excuse me, after a couple of drinks to, see. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. That's how my brain works. It just thinks, oh, you need to say this word next, but it's after these words, and then I get confused, and I'm on an audio medium where people have to listen to my voice. Yeah, I think that the heat is the only downside for me on the nose of this, because it's almost a little overpowering. It singes the nostril hairs and
Yes, definitely.
But which is unusual for an Elijah Craig. Generally it's not that sharp on even being high proof. A lot of the times you sit there and going, is that really a high end barrel?
But at 130 proof, I'm not surprised that there's a little bit of ethanol burn.
Yeah.
We lost Leanne for a second.
No, I just tried to breathe as well at the same time.
Oh.
Oh, it burns.
It's got a bit of burn to it. It really does. But it's
It's Brooklyn 911. 99 again.
Don't say that.
I'll say it. Name of your sex tape. Anybody who's seen that show, I mean, or listened to this show, you know how much I love Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That turned into a pretty big thing with us all last night.
it did, and we went on that for a long time. But that was fun.
Second sip's better.
Yeah, once you acclimate your palate to it, it's not as aggressive.
Still got that real sweet caramel right at the front, that toffee on the tongue too, the palate.
There's a little bit. I think it's a product of the oak. I think that's what I'm tasting more.
The oak's pretty heavier on the back end.
Yeah,
it's
and I was gonna say that it tastes a little
got a bit of pepper there to it too.
earth. Yeah, it does. Right in the middle of the palate, I think. But the oakiness kind of makes it a little earthy. I would say. But I think that overall this is one of the more pleasant barrel proof bourbons I've had in a while. I mean, it doesn't seem to hurt me, I guess. Like some barrel proof, like Stag Junior. Stag Junior's so aggressive. Have you all had Stag Junior?
Yeah, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
Okay,
well,
good deal. I saw blank expressions for a second. I was like,
No, I'm
whoa,
thinking-
whoa, wait.
I don't think it's that heavy, actually.
No, we've had a couple of different bottles, and I've had bottles which have been really forward and just pretty nasty, and on the strength of the alcohol when you're doing a nosing.
Right.
Then I've had bottles which it's sort of like, is this really a stag?
Right.
But then I've had Big Daddy, George T, which has been exact same.
Sure.
I've had 124 proofs, which have been more stronger on the nose than what a 140's been.
Right.
So it's always a bit of an interesting thing with barrel pick.
Sure.
Is that
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
differences that you're going to get from barrel to barrel is just phenomenal.
And that's what I love too about barrels is that barrel picks, that you may find things that you love about the original version of it that are kind of amped up in picks.
And that's the most fun is going, especially with a lot of the store picks and things like that. Going and seeing what people have actually been going for out of that barrel.
Right.
When
Right.
you're selecting from a number, and it's I go looking for things which are totally different to what you get off the shelf.
Okay. So you're in that camp.
That's what I'm after from a barrel. I'm not after it being the same as what you get on a shelf.
Sure. And what I really like about barrel picks too is that it does take something that you are familiar with, but adds in something a little bit different. That's what I go for. It's not something so off profile that I can't recognize it.
You don't want totally off profile, but you want it to be special.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You want people to remember it.
That's it.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of water to mine. I'm going to say 5 drops. And then if you guys want to do the same, if you want to pull from your own glasses, feel free to,
But because I've only got a little bit left, I'm only going to go a couple of drops because I don't want to drop it down under 80 proof.
it's 130 proof. I don't think that, a few drops are going to really
Yeah, but I don't want it to
alter it.
To drop it down too. I don't want to bring it down too close to what a normal is. It's just to give it that little open,
Right.
About 3 or 4 drops just really.
Can you guys get Elijah Craig over in Australia?
Yeah, we can, the new one. I've still got it. We've been able to get it for a lot of years.
Yeah.
But
Still at 94 proof, though?
Yeah. It's but the whole thing was, as soon as the announcement came that the age statement was going off.
Makes it a bit spicier.
Interesting. I smell the spice on the nose a little bit, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Sorry,
dropped
Chris, I
off that.
interrupted
It's
you.
dropped off that alcohol side and really brought out the spice.
the spice in it has like a. Did you hear that? I think they already had a super chat. I think I heard the. Sorry. So as we're finishing up recording this, Chad and Sarah have started their live stream, but I think I just heard the cowbell going upstairs. There's like a leather note to it on the nose. That's what I was gonna say.
Oh, that's
or like
that's,
a beef jerky. I don't know if really specifically like a salty beef jerky.
Yeah, it's definitely got that.
Which makes me wonder, how would it be if I paired it with beef jerky? Guess we'll find out eventually.
But it's definitely brought out the spice a lot more. It's more like an allspice on there now.
I think that it's made the palate a lot more in like the mouthfeel. I hate saying that so much, but it's made the mouthfeel a lot more oily, like a lot more viscous. You know, it seems to kind of coat my tongue a little bit more than it did before I added the water, which is weird. It's not normally that way with once you add water to bourbon, but I love how versatile this bourbon is. I really do.
Yeah, Elijah Craig's always been really good for...
And even at barrel proof, I mean, it is still so interesting. You know? I mean, it feels like it could do anything that you wanted it to.
Well, we've got one of the original Elijah Craig barrel proofs.
Like that one back there next to the...
No, it's actually the normal sort of
okay.
beige label.
Okay, gotcha. I didn't realize they did that at any point.
Yeah, no, I'll show you the photo.
Okay, great.
It's only a 129 or a 126, I think.
Okay.
But it was one of the first ones. It was only available down at the distillery. And I haven't opened it up yet.
I don't blame you.
The number of
I
people,
probably wouldn't either.
The number of people I've got actually over here who are after it.
You really should save it to your favourites if you're going to be showing that photo.
Well,
you don't want me to swipe through your photos, do you, Chris?
It was only last... No.
There's
Dog.
there's no naughty
Dog.
ones.
Well, no, there's no naughty ones. Lots of Archer. Lots of Archer.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and kick us off with our review system here. Again, each category is out of 5. And then, oh my gosh, look at that. Will you send that to me so I can post it on social media after?
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm going to post that at my Bourbon Pod on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter.
But it's a 129 proof.
That's crazy. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, the only way you can tell that it's a barrel strength proof
because it says it.
That little bit around the
Around the Could you imagine if you had just picked that up and you're like, oh, it's just regular Elijah Craig?
Actually, that's what I did at the distillery when I found her. It was sort of, oh yeah, an Elijah Craig 12. And then I was sort
of, wait a minute.
Joan, one of the tour guides down there, so going, that's a barrel strength. It says it at the top.
Okay. All I have to do is just read. I speak English. Anyway,
we're from Australia. We're not used to barrel strength. So back then.
Okay, so the first category is nose. So what would you guys give the nose on this?
I'm going to say a 3.
3? Okay.
Yeah, I'd give it about a 3.5.
Yeah? I'm going to give it a 4. I am really partial to Elijah Craig in general, especially at the... at barrel proof.
Yeah, I am, but just that the amount of the ethanol that was coming off it just dropped it off a 4 for me. I
think that's fair, but I was able to... I think the fact that I was able to pick up other things once I kind of took the time with it, and I get that, like, the first sniff of it, you're going, I don't really know about it, it's a little off-putting, but, I like that it took me a little bit of time to really dive into it and everything. But that's why I gave it a 4. What about the palate?
Palate, I'd definitely give it a 4, probably about 4.5. It's just sort of in that sort of area. It was just really good.
Yeah.
It's a bit spicy for me, so I'm going to say 3.
Okay. That's okay. I'm also going to give it a 4.
The palate was just great because it just had so much on that.
Yeah, I thought it got rid of some of the spice, honestly, and the heat too once it hit the palate. And once that happened, everything just kind of seemed to, coalesce in this really enjoyable long palate too. And then the finish, I mean, even the finish was great. I think, honestly, though, the finish was maybe my weakest point, but not by much. I'm going to give it a 3.5, because it was...
didn't give much of a hug. For that high, I would have expected it to give more of a hug.
Right.
Well, it did for me. So.
It's a slow hug, but...
Sure.
But, if I'm drinking a barrel strength, I want it to be a nice, solid hug there, not too long after.
Right.
I don't want to sit there and wait for it for too long.
So what would you give it on the finish, then?
On the finish, about 3.5, yeah.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, I'll say the same.
Okay, good deal. And then price, in American dollars, just for clarification, this runs about $65 to $70 here, and I don't know what the conversion rate is or anything from Australia to here.
Well, it's just under 100.
Oh,
so
okay.
It's about 72 US cents to the Australian dollar at the moment.
Okay. So what?
So that's not too bad. I mean,
Yeah.
that's cheaper than Booker's back home.
Oh gosh, what does Booker's go for?
Over 100, depends where.
Oh, jeez.
But we don't get the batches like you do.
Okay.
So we don't get the name batches. We just still get the ordinary old Bookers.
Okay. Gotcha. It's weird.
So
Okay. Well, anyway.
I think it's more just something for the American market.
Sure.
So
Sure.
to differentiate between, because it's such a big thing over here, it's made it a way for them to be able, instead of it being, what one was that, was 2018 batched. Oh, it's Kathleen's batch.
Well,
an oven buster.
I might actually have to have you guys bring one over then, if that's the case, because if it's, I would like to know what the difference is between, what we get. I mean, it's, as far as like taste goes, what the difference is between all that. But anyway, price though, I gave a 4. I think at $65, this is kind of a steal for a barrel proof. The only thing, as far as barrel proofs go, I think the only one that's better price wise is Wild Turkey Rare Breed, which you can get here for about $45. But $65 for this, I have always kind of said that Elijah Craig is what I think bourbon should taste like. And I think even at barrel proof, that's kind of it.
Well, Elijah Craig's always been one of my favourites.
Yeah.
Back when it was a 12 year, it was one of my go-tos. Even when it was about $70 a bottle back home for the 94 proof. But
that sounds exhausting. I'm sorry. I mean, it just sounds. I mean, you didn't even have minimum wage back there, right?
No.
Yeah.
Well, we do kind of, but it's
like $22 an hour or something.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we pay about $6.80 a gallon for gas. So.
Okay, let's. What would you give the price on this?
So that brings a bottle of bourbon actually into not a bad price.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. What would you give the price on it then?
4.
Yeah, for American side of things, for what we see over here.
So Chris gave it a 15 out of 20. Leanne gave it a 13.5 out of 20. And then I think I might have given it I gave it a 15.5 out of 20. So I gave it just barely the highest.
Yeah.
But I think this is a fantastic release of the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. I've not had any of the other two from this year just yet, but
I think we had one other one the other night at Bourbon and Rye.
As I said, I don't remember.
So
it's a good thing you're staying in town.
Exactly.
Okay, so that about does it for our review of the show. But we have to very quickly, because you guys have to get upstairs, talk about what our tips and bits are for this week, which is our recommendation portion of the show. So, guys, what are your all's tips and bits this week? And it can be anything. It doesn't have to be bourbon or alcohol. So.
Okay. Work hard, be good to your mother.
Perfect. Love it. Absolutely love it. Chris,
for anyone who's into bourbon, you've really got to come down to Kentucky.
Absolutely.
Do
Absolutely
the trial to really to get more, and I've gotten more out of coming over here. I mean, I've always enjoyed drinking bourbon, but coming over here, I've gotten to know more about the actual history of it, and it gives you more to actually talk about. I mean, bourbon's all about drinking with friends.
Right. Absolutely.
That's why we make so many friends over here. It's
Yeah.
you're sitting down, you're drinking, and it doesn't help that we talk funny. So yeah, you sit in bars, and we just want to hear
Highest
you
rated
talk.
episode of the show so far.
We just want to
right
hear
now.
you talk. Yeah. We'll buy you drinks to stay.
I actually have to recommend an Australian podcast that I've been listening to recently. It's called Primates. It's a comedian, Matt Stewart.
Yep.
Do you know who Matt Stewart
Yeah.
is? Really? Okay, that's awesome. Wow. I listen to another show of his all the time. It's called Do Go On, where they do reviews they do reports every week. But I love Matt. I think he's just so funny. Just an incredible guy. But anyway, he does a show all about primates in popular culture. And so he just kind of goes through different things every week. And the reason he started doing it was because he saw the Planet of the Apes movies. And anyway, it's a great podcast. I really enjoy it. But I'll recommend another one too, Potluck, which is a very recent podcast out of Franklin, Tennessee, from our friends at the podcast, Will Haynes, and a friend of theirs, Chris Thomas, who runs Made South, who put on the Southern Whiskey Society event that I was at a couple weeks ago. But anyway, check out both of those podcasts. They're a lot of fun. Chris and Leanne, thank you all so much for
Thank
being
you for
here.
having
I really
us.
appreciate it.
No, thanks for having us on.
Yeah. If you want to follow up with the show, you can head to at My Bourbon Pod on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Give us a follow. If you would like to become a patron of the show, you can head to patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast for as little as $1 a month. Give us a 5-star rate and review on iTunes so that we can counteract some of those stupid 1-star reviews that haunt me in my sleep. I wake up in a cold sweat. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you all so much for listening. I really
I'll
do
have to
appreciate
check what
it.
review I gave you.
Well, you can always change your score. I think you can at least. We will see you next week. I believe that Curtis and Tanner are going to be back on next week, but if something changes, I'll let you know, of course, on social media. But until then, I'm Perry, and this is My Bourbon Podcast.